Alright, in this video, I want to talk about the results of the second round of the French legislative elections that happened this past Sunday, kind of give an overview of the votes, the seats, what happened in France, and also what this means for the country going forward. Now, the results of this election were definitely a surprise upset. The polls were way off in every direction for pretty much all of the parties involved, and so we had a major upset with the left-wing New Popular Front winning the election, beating Marine Le Pen's National Rally, which was expected to come first place, winning the most seats and potentially even winning an absolute majority. Now, there were some reasons for that, which we will get into later in the video, but I want to give first a kind of overview of the amount of seats and votes each party got. Now, the National Rally, or rather the New Popular Front of the left, came in first place, winning 180 seats. This is up around 50 from what the NUPES Alliance got in the 2022 elections, and of course, this is the coalition of La France Insoumise, of Jean-Luc Mélenchon, along with the Socialist Party, the Communists, and the Greens. So they came first place with 180 seats, followed by Emmanuel Macron's Ensemble group, which is the liberal bloc, which came second, winning 159, 160 seats basically. Now, they came second, which was better than they were expected to do. They were expected to come third, potentially falling below 100 seats, so they did a lot better than expected, but still lost around 86. Now, the National Rally ended up coming third despite polling in first place with the number of seats, but they did make some gains. They went from 89 to 125, but when you add in the alliance of the kind of Les Républicains that ran with the National Rally, the party went to 104, or the bloc rather went to 142. So we have three blocks all at around 150, 160 seats that are kind of the same amount of power within the National Assembly, and of course the coalition building in the next few weeks and months will be very complicated. Now, there were a number of reasons why these results happened, but if you take a look at the distribution of the seats in the French Parliament, we can see, of course, here once again, like I said, there is pretty much a even split between three groups of 1/3 for the left, 1/3 for the center, and 1/3 for the right, which of course is dominated by the National Rally, Macron's Ensemble, and then the left party is actually split between the Socialist Party, kind of on the center left, and the more far left, La France Insoumise, dominated by, of course, Jean-Luc Mélenchon. Now, this National Assembly is not the one we were expected to have. What was expected to happen was that the National Rally would be kind of close to being the largest party and would potentially kind of maybe put forward a prime minister with support from the Républicains or be able to win enough seats on their own. And if not, it would be kind of it was up in the air who would be prime minister. Now, with this scenario, it is, of course, not certain, but there are two likely kind of scenarios we can suspect for who will become prime minister, and that is either someone from Macron's party will become prime minister with both support of the Les Républicains and the centrist part of the left, which is, of course, the Socialists and potentially the Greens, or we could have maybe someone from the centrist left, from the Socialists or from the Greens, become prime minister with support of both Macron's bloc and the kind of further left bloc. So we have someone maybe in the middle of the center wing of the New Popular Front with support from the entire bloc with some of Macron's party, or of course Macron's bloc with support from Les Républicains and the Socialists. Now, Macron's party, of course, did split away from kind of the Socialists, and a lot of Macron's cabinet was from Les Républicains. So Macron's party is somewhat of a mix of the traditional center-right and center-left in France, and so they do have some kind of tension between them because it was seen as kind of a betrayal. There is a divide, even on issues, between these two between the centrist and the center-right and center-left. However, there is enough in common that they could work together, especially in a time of kind of crisis and division like this. But like I said, it is not certain at all who will become prime minister, or even if we will have a clear, majority for a prime minister. Even if there is some kind of a coalition together, it will be very unstable, very divided, because of course the amount of the parties involved are going to be very different from each other. But we do have kind of some scenarios. It's potential that Gabriel Attal from the Renaissance could become prime minister again. It's not totally out of the question if they are able to win support from some of the left-wing parties, but there are problems. For example, the Les Républicains supported Macron's pension reform. The Socialists have stated that if they want to form a coalition with Macron, they need to repeal that. That's already an issue going straight out of the gate. Now, as for Macron working with La France Insoumise or the National Rally, they have excluded working with both those parties already, so it's pretty much guaranteed they have to work with the center parties, and that involves either, like I said, a coalition between the center and the center right and center left, or a coalition of or a coalition between the center left with the center and the kind of far left. Now, either of those are, I think, possible, but we have, of course, a lot of time to see. Not a lot of time, but we have to wait and see what will happen with the results. Now, the reason the National Rally did so poorly in terms of the number of seats had to do with some of the strategic alliances for the second round. Now, if we take a look here, we can see that the National Rally actually won the most votes. For the second round, they came in first place. France, nationwide, they won 37% of the vote, followed by the New Popular Front, which came in second with 25%, followed by Macron's Ensemble with 24%. Now, this isn't significant. The National Rally, technically, you could say, won the election with the amount of votes, but of course, the votes do not determine who wins the most seats. And of course, the French election, there are 577 individual constituencies. Similar to the British or US elections, you have to win in those constituencies, first past the post, a direct mandate, and then, of course, that determines how many seats each party gets. So the amount of votes you get does not necessarily determine how many seats you get, but you can see here the strategic alliance between the New Popular Front and Ensemble to prevent the National Rally from winning kind of worked very successfully. And I think one of the problems with the polls was in 2022, this kind of Republican front between the parties to block the National Rally had kind of failed, and a lot of this had to do with the fact that the National Rally was in third place. They weren't really expected to make major gains, and so the left and the center were focused on fighting each other, and because of that, the National Rally was able to kind of win a lot more than expected. I think this time the focus shifted on the National Rally, and despite the fact that in 2022 this kind of Republican front slipped back and kind of failed, in this election they were really able to succeed in doing that. The Left Alliance and the Ensemble Alliance withdrew candidates in third place in the second round in seats where 3 candidates qualified, and told their voters to not only not vote for the National Rally, but to really prevent them from winning as many seats, because there was the fear of them winning an absolute majority. And so the second and third powerful, most blocks worked together to prevent that, and it worked a lot better than expected, even pushing the National Rally back into third place in terms of the number of seats. Now, if we take a look at the map, we can see it is similar to what happened in the last election. There were, of course, gains for the National Rally and gains for the left, but we can see this geographic divide in France. The south along the Mediterranean was very strong for the National Rally. These, the kind of rural suburban parts around the cities of Marseille, Perpignan, Nice, Avignon were very, of course, strongholds for the National Rally. They've been like that for a long time. And of course, also the north, which is a kind of deindustrialized part of France, suffers of a lot of economic problems. This used to be somewhat of a stronghold for the Communist Party. This is where Marine Le Pen's seat is. This is one of the National Rally's strongest districts. So they were able to make some kind of gains on the seats at the fringes of these two strongholds, and also some throughout the middle of the country. But overall, the map is clearly not as, shaded in for their color as it was in the first round, or rather, even what it was expected to be. The left party, of course, the left-wing alliance, was able to win some around the south, where they do traditionally well, and of course the liberal alliance of Macron's Ensemble was able to do strongly in the west, including Brittany, where the liberals traditionally do well. But of course, if we take a look at the city of Paris, we can see that the left did pretty well in East Paris and the liberals did well in West Paris. So there was a geographic divide, a very, very big split in France, as we can see. Now, like I said, these results were, of course, a surprise from what the polls were showing, but it's definitely a understandable result, and a lot of this has to do with the French election system, which is very complicated, and so that's why some of the things happened the way they did. Now, this will be potentially a short-lived parliament. There could be new elections. The French president has the power to call elections every year, so Macron could decide next year to have a new election for the legislature, or if we have a new president in 2027, that president could call new elections as well. But as of now, this parliament will sit for the next 5 years in France. But of course, like I said, it's likely that there will be new elections before then. But it has created a very unstable and very fragmented political environment in France. This was a result that not many expected, and it would definitely cause chaos in the country. But I wanted to give kind of an overview of what happened with the number of votes, the number of seats, and kind of give a brief overview of why things happened the way they did with France. And so that will be it for this video, and I do want to do, of course, another video on the UK. I do apologize, I've been traveling some, so I wasn't able to record, but I will try to do a video on the UK elections tomorrow, and then, of course, afterwards we will be done with these elections, and we'll be going on to focusing on the East German state elections and, of course, the Austrian general elections in September. So I hope you guys like this video. If you do, please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Thank you for watching.